Welcome back. About 300 undergraduate students of Bayero University in Kano have benefited from the Fidelity Bank Youth Empowerment Program. The students were trained on various skills to enable them become self-reliant. It is the 5th edition of the bank's empowerment program for students, and over 2,000 beneficiaries have emerged across the country.
Fidelity Bank Youth Empowerment Academy was established in 2016 as part of the bank's resolve to improve its corporate social responsibility.
It's an academy we created for young people in various tertiary institutions because we know how difficult it is to get jobs out there now. And then SME is the future. SME is the easiest way to have a lot of people gainfully employed.
One is we intervene in education, we intervene in the environment, health and social welfare. And then a very significant pillar is that of youth empowerment. And this is our way of giving back to the communities we operate in.
In partnership with Gazelle Academy, Fidelity Youth Academy is in Bayero University, Kano, where 300 undergraduate students have been trained in various trades and skills.
Financial emancipation for every youth and woman in Nigeria. That's what it means. Freedom to choose, freedom to stand on your own 2 feet and provide for yourself and your family. Comfort and peace of mind. That's what it means to me.
Some of the skills beneficiaries are being trained on are henna design, tailoring, wig making, and coding.
This program is a blessing in disguise. I'm so happy. I feel like flying right now. I feel like flying. Thank God for this program. I enrolled in the embellishment class. Now I can do various designs, different kind of designs on clothes, on hair ties, whatever. Anything you want, I can do any kind of design for you.
I've been able to make different cocktails. I don't know about it earlier, but now I can make different cocktails like Chapman, a mocktail, cucumber mint, sunset, sunrise. I can make pina colada. I can make different things, and I'm so happy and excited about it because I know after this program, I'm going to make something big out of it. I know I've benefited enough from it.
The Enterprise and Skills Training Program is expected to be extended to other tertiary institutions across the country by the bank.
And now time for the rest of the business news of the day. For that, we go to Kayode Okikioru.
You first. First Bank.
Many thanks, Ladi, and you're welcome to Business News. Now, there may be no hiding place for loan defaulters anymore, as the Central Bank and the Bankers Committee have resolved to debit bank customers who fail to repay their loans. The CBN made this revelation at the Bankers Committee meeting as part of a new risk policy set to be added to the terms of lending by commercial banks. Our correspondent, Temple Ashaju, reports.
The quarterly meeting of the Bankers Committee is typically followed with a media briefing on critical issues discussed at the session. The meeting this time focuses on credit lending as part of measures taken to stimulate the economy. Highlighting the latest decisions, the Deputy Governor in charge of Financial System Stability, Mrs. Aisha Ahmed, announces that a credit risk protection clause is to be added to banks' terms of lending in order to encourage the SMEs.
It will be a commitment by the customer that in taking the loan, or a covenant, that in taking the loan you agree and promise to repay the loan, and that you also agree that should you default on the loan, that the total amount of assets or the total amount of deposits you have across the industry, the banking industry, would be applied towards repaying the loan.
But that's not all, as the bank also moves to boost lending in the mortgage sector with the launch of 2 new programs.
We've also come up with a mortgage interest drawback fund, and what that is supposed to do is to solve the problem of the high cost of mortgages. The final one is the Mortgage Guarantee Company. This company is supposed to help to get, should I say, mortgages that are bad, more or less.
While the committee also renews commitments toward consumer lending, A credit program has been developed in partnership with the Lagos State government to support the creative industry.
If you look at the calculation of the loan to deposit ratio of 60%, they have basically said from the day of the circular, but they will look at how well the banks have done. They will apply a multiple of 1.5% to consumer type loans, mortgage type loans, towards that calculation.
And the whole idea is for us to basically go and develop the adjoining areas to the National Theatre and basically provide support again for those four verticals, i.e. in fashion, in music, Nollywood, and of course create the creation of an IT hub.
The bank's raft of policies are coming around 35 days to the September 30, 2019 deadline for minimum loan-to-deposit ratio of 60%, an aggressive strategy being watched by analysts who have described the policy as credit negative. Temple Ashaju, Channels Television News.
Let's head over to the NSE, where about 53 billion naira was knocked from the stock markets after investors resumed transactions with profit taken across 4 sectors of the NSE. Teniola Shobowale has the details.
Hello and welcome to the Stock Market Report. The final trading week of August gets off to a negative start, down by 0.39%, as investors switch to profit-taking mode on some mid-cap and high-value equities. The renewed sell pressure, which comes after 3 consecutive gains recorded last week, affected 4 out of the 5 major sectors of the NSE, particularly the oil and gas counter, which plunged by 6.78%. That massive loss is attributed to intense profit taken in the shares of Forte Oil and Seplat, which topped the losers list by 10% apiece, in contrast to 10% price increase recorded by ABC Transport and Sovereign Trust Insurance. Total volume of shares traded for Monday was slightly lower at 158.26 million units, worth 2.31 billion naira, and these were largely contributed by the shares of Transcorp, Zenith Bank and UBA. And that's the Stock Market Report. I'm Teniola Shobowale.
Thank you, Teniola. Outside Nigeria, U.S. stock markets ended Monday's session upbeat over an hour ago. But let's find out how other major markets fared during the day. Thank you for watching Business News Tonight. I am Kayode Okikiolu. The news at 10 continues with Ladi.
You first. First Bank.
Thanks, Kayode. Outside our shows, U.S. President Donald Trump has expressed willingness to meet with the Iranian President, Mr. Hassan Rouhani, only if the right circumstances prevail. The president was answering questions during a press conference on the sidelines of the G7 meeting in France. Earlier, he had talked about meeting the Chinese leader for trade talks. Simon Pusey has more in Around the World in 5.
Good evening from the Channel's newsroom here in London. President Donald Trump has said the US and China will very shortly resume trade talks after a weekend of escalating tensions with Beijing. At the G7 summit in Biarritz on Monday, he said Chinese officials had made 2 very, very good calls on Sunday night and that Beijing wanted to make a deal. It comes after the sharply hiked tariffs on billions of dollars of Chinese imports in retaliation for fresh duties from Beijing just on Friday. China has yet to comment, but earlier called for calm to resolve the row, something President Trump agreed with.
And I think it's a very good word to use, calm. It's not a word that I use that often, but it's a good word to use. And I think it's one of the reasons that's a great country. I mean, they understand. A lot of companies have left China and they're leaving China. They want to get it done. I knew that. I could have told you that without talking, but we are talking.
International leaders at the G7 summit have agreed to provide logistical and financial support to help fight fires in the Amazon rainforest. French President Emmanuel Macron said G7 countries would release $22 million. The agreement came as the leaders of Canada, France, Germany, Italy, Japan, the UK and the US continue to meet in Biarritz at the G7 summit. A record number of fires are burning in Brazil, mostly in the Amazon, according to the country's space research agency. Mr. Macron said the funds would be made available immediately, primarily to pay for the more firefighting planes. It's after the film star Leonardo DiCaprio announced an initiative with philanthropists involving a $5 million emergency fund to help preserve the rainforest.
Been to the Amazon, having stayed there, and knowing not only the importance that it is for stabilizing climate, but the beauty of biodiversity and the cultures that live there. It's incredibly tragic. I think that I immediately felt depressed, and I felt like a lot of people that I connected with wanted to take action. So that's why Earth Alliance and myself and our partners, Lorraine Jobs and Brian Cheth, wanted to make an immediate contribution to start the ball rolling.
A Hong Kong police officer fired a gunshot during protests on Sunday, the first time a live round has been used since demonstrations broke out in June. Images show several other officers also pointing guns at protesters who were charging at them with sticks and poles. In another first, police deployed water cannon against protesters earlier in the day. The protests began in the city's Tsuen Wan district and then spread to the district of Tsim Sha Tsui. Hong Kong police said 36 people have been arrested as a result of Sunday's protests, the youngest aged just 12. Former Hollywood producer Harvey Weinstein is expected to appear in a Manhattan courtroom to face a new indictment in connection with his upcoming criminal trial. Weinstein is expected to plead not guilty to the indictment, which has not yet been made public, according to one of his lawyers. New York state prosecutors have accused Weinstein of having sexually assaulted 2 women in 2006 and 2013. The prosecutors revealed in court papers earlier this month that they would seek to bring a new indictment that would allow jurors to hear testimony from a third woman who said Weinstein raped her in 1993. Indonesia's capital city is to be relocated to the province of East Kalimantan on the island of Borneo. President Joko Widodo has said the government has been conducting studies and they have been intensifying in the past 3 years. The current capital, Jakarta, home to more than 10 million people, sits on swampy land. Parts of the city are sinking by as much as 25 centimetres a year, and almost half of it now sits below sea level. No name was given for the capital's planned replacement. Greece is fully lifting its remaining capital controls, Prime Minister Kyriakos Mitsotakis said, in a move signalling the economy's continuing return to stability after 3 international bailouts since 2010. From today, capital controls are a thing of the past, the Prime Minister told lawmakers in Parliament. Athens imposed capital controls in June 2015 when Greece was embroiled in a dispute with lenders over how to prop up an economy overwhelmed by a mountain of debt, and its banks were bleeding cash. And finally, feather-clad dancers have taken to the streets of West London for Day 2 of Notting Hill Carnival. Monday's grand finale parade followed the more family-friendly event on Sunday. Over 1 million people are expected to attend the annual event, which is thought this year to be one of the hottest carnivals ever, with a temperature of 32.7 Celsius confirmed in London earlier. This year, police have been given extra stop and search powers in the Notting Hill area, and over 100 arrests were made on Sunday, 41 of which were drug offences. And that's your international news around the world in 5.
Thank you, Simon. Still ahead on the news at 10, Nigeria's Falconets edge close to winning a gold medal at the 2019 Africa Games women's football event.